Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Remembrance Day, Monday the 11th of November 2024. It is also a special someone's birthday, so happy birthday to him. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Odyssey channel and the Wilms Front Rumble channels. Make yourself known in the chat. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria. And thank you to everyone who watched our US presidential election results live stream on Wednesday, our time. When the first results were coming in, we went for 8 hours in total until Donald Trump made his victory speech in Florida. So 8 hours, it's the longest and most epic live stream that I've ever done. And thank you for those who participated with me, including Ben Shand, the Dusty Bogan, Iron Duke, Matty Stack, Aubrey, a member of Iron Duke's Anglosphere, also to the Versace Cowboy, also to Richard Wollstonecroft, also to DJ Payne. And I think that and also, of course, Stephen Berry from the Mr. Berry Show and Trad Tasman Talk, well, formerly of those programs. It was great to have him back as well. Now, while all of us were watching the results, and obviously we were all very excited and jubilated when, after nervous a couple of hours of counting, when the final votes were coming in to Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, that it was confirmed that Donald Trump will be returning to the presidency, the White House, in January, being the 47th president of the United States. January 20th, we have to wait for him to become president again. While all that was happening and we were all distracted, the Albanese government passed through the federal parliament its disinformation bill, which of course would give the Australian and Communications and Media Authority the power to make a mandatory code of conduct for social media companies, ordering them to take down posts which are deemed to be disinformation, including things such as questions the integrity of Australian elections and referendums, the banking system, the economy, public health measures, and also that vilifies on the basis of all the various attributes: race, religion, sex, sexuality, gender identity, you name it. And now, belatedly, the Liberal and National Party said that they did vote against it. Peter Dutton came out against it, even though in the aftermath of the Bondi Junction stabbing, he said he supported it. So obviously all the Labor Party MPs voted for it. All of the Teals voted for it, with the exception of Allegra Spender, the Teal independent for the inner Sydney seat of Wentworth. Bob Katter voted against it. Rebecca Sharkey, the Centre Alliance for Mayo in South Australia, voted against it, as did Di Lee, as did Helen Haynes, as did Andrew Wilkie, and the Greens, they decided in the end to abstain. Now, the good news is that it looks like it is going to die in the Senate, which is very good news. It looks like they won't get enough crossbench support from David Pocock or even Fatima Payman, their former senator. We don't know how Jackie Lambie or Tammy Tyrrell will fall, or whether the Greens will fall. So that was on last Wednesday. Then on Thursday, Anthony Albanese was again with his communications minister, Michelle Rowland, to announce that they were going to proceed with legislation to ban under 16s from social media. And he got the approval of the National Cabinet, the meeting of state and territory leaders, on the Friday. And he put out a video on his social medias. So this is the thing about not just Albanese, because this is a bipartisan, and like the Misinformation Bill, this is bipartisan, so it will become law in Australia. So the Liberal Party put out a win for families. Government supports coalition's plan to set an age limit for 16 for Australians to access social media. Peter Dutton and his communications spokesman David Coleman says, let's get it done before the end of the year. But this was Anthony Albanese's anti-social media message posted to his social medias.
I want to talk to Australian parents. We're making 16 years old the minimum age for social media. Too often, social media isn't social at all, and we all know that. The truth is, it's doing harm to our children, and I'm calling time on it. I've heard from mums and dads, teachers and counsellors, as well as young people themselves. They're asking for action to protect our young Australians. This is about giving children a childhood and giving parents peace of mind. I've got the support of all the state and territory governments to lead this change. The onus will be on the social media companies, not on parents or young people. There will be no penalties for users. I want parents to know that we are listening and we are acting to deliver that positive change that will make a real.
So Anthony Albanese, as he said in that video, it's going to be the social media companies who face penalties for not taking reasonable steps to ensure that under 16s do not access or be able to create an account on social media. Now, what counts as, what's the definition of social media? Obviously, when people think of social media, they think of things such as Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Well, the Online Safety Act, which was passed by the Morrison government in 2021, which gave the eSafety Commissioner the power to take down harmful content, which basically is a political speech she doesn't agree with, and she is going to be further empowered. It's going to be a regulatory power given to her in the Act to basically decide which platforms children can access and which they are going to be banned from. So Karen is going to have even more power. So at the moment, the definition of social media, according to the Online Safety Act, is the sole or primary purpose of the service is to enable online social interaction between two or more users. The service allows end users to link to or interact with some or all of the other end users. The service allowed end users to post material on the service. Now, the Communications Minister, Michelle Rowland, has said that while YouTube Kids, young people will be permitted onto that because there's no comments on it, YouTube itself would likely be captured by it. And this definition of social media that covers gaming platforms that children use, which have chat features, such as Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation Network, and also instant messaging services such as WhatsApp. So going back to my young teenage years, when we were outside of school, we used to communicate on MSN Messenger. And obviously, there could be predators and weirdos that could get a hold of you. That hasn't changed. And obviously, we feel total empathy for parents who've lost children to social media bullying, or those who have become children who've become victims of sexual predators on social media. But certainly this the Australian way, it seems, just to the sledgehammer approach to just ban it. That's the Australian way, that if there's a problem, rather than working through it, being more involved in our children's online activities, or taking a community-based approach. It's just we look to big government to be the big parent. I have government, I do the parenting for us. So the justification is because the polls have said that 2/3 support this, that, oh, well, it's easier if it's simply banned because then there won't be any peer pressure, children nagging their parents. So, and they also said that it won't ban children's access to the internet. They'll still be able to access health and educational resources. But of course, in this day and age, those services can be harmful to young people and contain groomer and age inappropriate material. And Cory Bernardi, the ex-Liberal and Australian Conservatives politician, he summed it up perfectly, that the Uniparty strikes again at freedom once again. If they really wanted to keep your children safe, they wouldn't allow them to cut off their genitals. Yes, there's no protection for children to be safe from age inappropriate material in the schoolroom or groomers in real life. And Craig Kelly, he made the point, because we're going to get to the exit poll later on from the US presidential election, but young men, they moved to Trump. And of course, they've been talking about for months the damage of the online manosphere. Andrew Tate, the big boogeyman. Craig Kelly, he provided some anecdote that teenagers in school, they were listening to the results and excited that Trump was returning to the White House, because Trump won it not through traditional media, which of course is lobbying for these social media restrictions for young people. So follow the money, back the horse named self-interest, because they want children to be consuming what their platforms, television, newspapers, and radio. And certainly Anthony Albanese would be okay with that himself. He was asked by Neil Mitchell on his podcasts. I think podcasts might be okay for young people because they don't have comments. If he was a dictator for a day, what would he do?
I'll give you the perfect world, okay? You've got no caucus to answer to. You've got no Federal Labor Party conference. You've got no elections. You've got no opinion polls. You are dictator for 5 years. What do you do? What's your first act?
the big frustrating thing, if I could do something, maybe ban social media, would be handy. Because
Why? What worries you about social media?
Look, I think a couple of things. One is keyboard warriors who can anonymously say anything at all and without any fear, the sort of things that they would never say to you face to face. They can just assume.
I'm sure all of us here, if we saw Anthony Albanese on the street, we'd tell him to his face what we thought of him, what we say online. Remember Anthony Albanese? He went viral all around the world for saying that he was glad social media companies took down memes of him, his face on other people's body. So this is obviously politicians, they always claim that social media is unsafe for them, even though back in the snail mail days, they got threatening letters and phone calls. So these sorts of abuse of politicians, they happened in the analog era. But going back to the point, certainly the Labor Party, they want young people to get their indoctrination. They're worried that they're losing too many young people are getting awoken online, not woke, awoken. And so they're not getting what they did in the old pre-digital days, the indoctrination from the teachers, members of the teachers union, which supports the Labor Party. MAGA is a bit confused that it's going to be on the onus on social media companies. They're not going to throw kids in juvie for creating a Facebook account. Although it does bring the question, how do you take as many steps as possible to make sure that under 16s are not on these platforms? Well, it has to be with a digital ID, age verification, which the Communications Minister, Michelle Rowland, has not ruled out biometric measures such as facial recognition, even though it can't tell age, can't even tell the difference between men and women. Now, the Greens, they seem to be getting their civil liberties streak back because they are opposing it. There seems to be the radical right and the radical left appear to be on the same page. The radical left, because they don't like that this campaign is being spearheaded by Murdoch. They believe that it's an effort by the Murdoch media to get back their market share, and they also want young people to be online so they can indoctrinate them as well. And so this has gone viral all around the Australian social media today. David Shoebridge, the Greens senator, asking the Labor Assistant Minister, Jenny McAllister, is it going to be through digital ID, age verification? Are we all going to have to give her our ID to access social media, any form of online interaction?
Of course, if you're testing to see if someone's 13 or 14 or 15 or 16, you're also testing to see, by definition, if they're 16 plus. So if there's going to be age verification, everybody is going to have to go through an age verification process, won't they?
Yes.
Yes. So this isn't just about the privacy or collecting data about kids. This is literally everybody accessing social media. That's how it has to work, isn't it?
Yes. Senator Shoebridge, you just used the term age verification. You may not have been in the room when we had a discussion about the distinction between age verification and age assurance. This is an age assurance trial.
This is, if you're going to have age assurance for kids 13, 14, 15 or 16, testing, if they're that age, you're testing everyone's age, and you're doing it at that level of age assurance. And that has privacy and data protection implications for literally everybody accessing social media, doesn't it?
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why we've commissioned consumer research to look at consumer willingness and.
So last week it was the announcement by Albanese and his communications minister, Michelle Rowland, and the details about which social media sites are going to be age restricted and how age restriction is going to work. It's going to be sorted out later. And then there's going to be a 1-year period until it comes into effect. So this is still basically policy on the run. The Albanese government has an announceable so they can distract Australians from their poor economic management. The biggest driving issue for American voters was cost of living. Our living standards in Australia have significantly more declined than over in the United States. So what a perfect distraction for the Albanese government. And now Michelle Rowland also said this is no different from age restricting alcohol, except that when you go to the liquor store, whether it's Liquorland, BWS, if you look under 25, you're asked for ID. That's what the sign says. But if an old granny is not going to be asked whether she's over 18, and they don't keep that information. The supermarkets, the cashier just looks at the date of birth, checks that you look the same there, and then you can purchase if it all checks out, then you can purchase the age restricted alcohol. But online, anybody who wants to create a Facebook account, no matter what their age, they're going to have to put through some sort of age verification, and a log is kept of it. The internet is forever. Nobody should trust the government to keep their data and privacy safe at all. The only type of digital ID age assurance, again, there's no difference between age assurance and age verification that I think would 100% protect privacy, and this has been listed by the e-safety commissioner herself, Julia Mangrand, is anonymized age tokens. So the way that I would see that it would totally work where it's not traceable is you go down to the local post office and you show your ID and you're given a anonymized age token, and it's like a code, like it'd be in one of those iTunes vouchers, and then you use that to create the social media accounts. Obviously, there is an expiry on using it within a certain year and that. And of course, it's not foolproof. Just like there can be a secondary purchase of alcohol, there can be fake IDs. So of course, it's not going to be foolproof, but there is actually no trace at all for who, for the age verification is done in person in the post office in person. So there's no online trail at all. So that's the only way that it would be 100% privacy. But it seems that I doubt that they will go for that totally anonymized way, because that's not how governments work. But there is a lot of, I think the alarm's now setting in that, actually, we're going to have to basically be tracked online wherever we go to make sure that we're over 16. And it doesn't matter what age you are, you're still going to have to put in some form of ID. And I really hope that this is where this completely falls over, that when it gets down to the actual detail and more, like remember, Australians were 60% in favour of the voice, and then when the details came out, the end result was 40. I hope it's the case here, but as we saw during the COVID lockdowns and mandates, Australians willingly and gladly and smiled through their masks, QR code check-in, letting the government know everywhere that they had been. So I certainly a majority of Australians have not learnt the overall lesson of COVID is that don't trust the government, don't trust the government to act in your best interest or your children's best interest. We had the health minister, speaking of COVID and the lockdowns, the health minister, Mark Butler, he announced over, I think it was yesterday, that it was described as another world-leading approach because it's described this social media ban for under 16s as world-leading. World-leading isn't always good. Remember, the Russian Revolution was world-leading, and it was a total disaster. So, hang on, I've just got to get the right. Yeah, so Mark Butler announced yesterday, Australian mums and their newborn babies will have free access to the best and most comprehensive protection in the world against respiratory syncytial virus ahead of winter 2025. The government is investing $175 million to provide pregnant women with free access to the maternal respiratory syncytial virus vaccine at Brexit under the National Immunisation Program. So remember, the COVID report said that childhood infant immunization is down because of the lack of trust now in vaccines because of the COVID vaccine's side effects. So this is, well, the first step on, of trying to again, that's what the government thinks is the solution to everything. Either mandate, ban, or make it free. Though I should give a shout out to one of my friends, though, Matt Lowry, who had a very nasty bout of mycoplasma pneumonia. I had to go into hospital in Perth, but he's much better now. So viruses can knock you around, but they are not worth the price of our liberty, whether it be restricting movement or mandating injectables. Now, also why we were all focused on the United States presidential election, the High Court of Australia, they invalidated the Albanese government's curfews and ankle monitors for the 224 non-citizens who the High Court last November ruled, so they're non-citizen criminals and national security risk, ruled could not be subjected to indefinite detention because they had no prospect of resettlement. So there was that emergency legislation rush through the parliament. Though that has been declared unlawful by the High Court, they've said that it violates the separation of powers in the Constitution and is a form of punishment, which is the purview of the court. The High Court basically says that non-citizens are entitled to the same rights as Australian citizens, which most Australians would disagree with. So the new Immigration Minister, Tony Burke, has said he's got new regulations being finalised, and that he's looking at ways to get these foreign criminals and national security risk settled in third countries. Though how many people want to resettle murderers and pedophiles? So of course, there's all of these human rights, refugee, asylum seeker lawyers who work pro bono. So they took this case of this stateless refugee from Eritrea, which is a northeastern African country. It was known as the YBFZ case. And remember, the High Court, whatever it decides, is they are above. The only way that the High Court can be overruled is if there was a constitutional referendum to remove the separation of powers. Though I don't think that would get up in a referendum, but that is the only way around it. And often this is the issue with judiciaries who can create law unelected. They're appointed by their own interpretation. And certainly I'm glad that in the United States, they have, in all the 50 states, they have regular referendums to change their constitution. So they have lots and lots of votes on everything. So certainly, although these High Court decisions are somewhat out of the control of the Albanese government, let's not remember that Mark Dreyfus, the Attorney General, still has his job, allowed the Australian Human Rights Commission to lobby on these criminal non-citizen refugee asylum seekers' behalf. Now, Peter Dutton, he of course, as the former Home Affairs Minister under Malcolm Turnbull and Scott Morrison, has gone in hard against the Albanese government for again being caught flat-footed. And he is wanting to take a leaf out of the Trump book for the federal election campaign next year, even though the Liberal National Opposition are not for freedom or free speech. Liberal Party has given up on free speech. They support all these hate speech laws in the name of protecting Jews. And also, they are not for peace. They support the forever war in Ukraine and allowing Israel to do whatever they want, including, well, it's unfortunate if you kill one of our citizens. However, it's all Hamas's fault. See what Hamas made the IDF kill Zomi Franklin. But they will run on border security and anti-woke. One of the Trump ad said, Kamala is for they, them. President Trump is for you. And Peter Dutton, in his weekly segment with Ray Hadley on Radio 2GB, announced his retirement. There were all these plaudits for Ray Hadley on his retirement, even though he is hated by a lot of his ex-colleagues, is a bullier of his staff. The plaudits come on, and he was also a COVID bedwetter as well, wanting QR codes in supermarkets. So he told Ray Hadley that I think when I see government that is more interested in pronouns than they are in people, it becomes a real problem, except the Albanese government is nowhere near as woke as Kamala and Tampon Tim. I mean, Anthony Albanese knows the definition of a woman. He knows that men can't get pregnant. Bill Shorten overruled the fact that birthing mother was erased from federal guidelines, though there's no intervention from the Albanese government over the new Home Affairs Department secretary, who replaced the very competent Michael Pizzula. Stephanie Foster, her priority is not, it seems, Operation Sovereign Borders. That did get a 2/3 beef up in the aftermath of this latest High Court decision. Stephanie Foster is more focused on scrubbing the Australian flag from Home Affairs Department. Maybe she's worried that it will offend the migrants protesting outside the Home Affairs Office. Now, the day after we got the results here in Australia of the US election, Wednesday, on Thursday, Victoria Police, they had, as they were calling it, a day of action against the National Socialist Network. So this was the press release that they put out on their Victoria Police website. In a joint operations, detectives from the Counter-Terrorism Command and Northwest Metro Region have a day arrested 4 men as part of a day of action against the National Socialist Network. With assistance from the Stonington Crime Investigation Unit, 5 search warrants were executed early this morning at residential addresses in North Melbourne, Point Cook, Baxter, Ashwood and Montana South as part of an investigation into a series of incidents. A 25-year-old North Melbourne man was interviewed by detectives in relation to offences of serious racial vilification and grossly offensive public conduct. That was Jacob Herjant. He was released and expected to be charged on summons. A 23-year-old Baxter man and a 21-year-old Ashwood man were both interviewed in relation to the offences of serious racial vilification and grossly offensive public conduct. They were both released and are expected to be charged on summons. Today's activity follows an incident on Thursday, 31st of October. That is the Halloween stunt by Jacob Herjant, where he dressed up as a member of the Ku Klux Klan. There was a video he released where Nathan Bull, another prominent National Socialist Network member who separately has been charged with performing a Nazi salute at the Nova Theatre in Carlton. He dressed up in blackface, and it was like minstrel blackface, like it was just on his face. And so at the end of the video, Jacob's got a noose chasing after Nathan Bull in blackface while he's in the Klan outfit. I'm not going to show it because it's now under investigation. Because they arrested Thomas Sewell twice in 1 week. We're going to get to this in a moment. The Victoria Police were very busy that day. So, and then there was also the photo of Jacob Herjant in the Ku Klux Klan outfit, putting his knee on Nathan Bull's throat in the blackface with a bucket of KFC next to him. Going back to Victoria Police's allege on Thursday, 31st of October, a number of men dressed in offensive clothing verbally harassed 2 female members of the public in a retail store car park in Port Melbourne around 7:30. Now, if you watch the Joel Blair and Thomas show on Thursday night, Joel was with Jacob and Nathan that night and said that there was 2 black women who were filming them in a Bunnings car park when they were getting more supplies. They claim they didn't say anything to them. We'll see. Obviously, what Victoria Police will allege took place. So they allege that the 2 female members of the public were harassed in a retail store car park in Port Melbourne around 7:30 p.m. As part of a day of action, detectives from Melbourne Crime Investigation Unit executed a simultaneous warrant in Montana South in relation to a separate incident. A 31-year-old Montana South man was charged with 2 counts to intimidate a police officer family member. That is Thomas Sewell. He was bailed to appear at Ringwood Magistrates Court on 18th of February. The charges follow 2 alleged incidents that occurred late last month. The first relate to online commentary following a rally on Burke Street around 5 p.m. Tuesday, the 22nd of October. He was also interviewed in relation to an incident outside an embassy in Turak, that's the Chinese consulate, about 12:30 p.m. on October 20. 26, where a national flag was burnt. He was released pending further inquiries in relation to offences against the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act. Police take a zero tolerance approach to any act of prejudice, motivated crime, or intimidation of police officers. Now, the charge that Thomas Sewell got for intimidating a police officer or family member. So this involves a Joel Blair and Tom stream. This is the Noticer.news article here. So there was the separate one. I'm not sure if Noticer have got the photo here. Yeah, their rally at the Home Affairs office in Docklands, where they brought back their "fuck off, we're full." This time, it was the second time they'd been there. Victoria Police pepper sprayed them. There was one police officer who was in plain clothes but identified as a police officer who appeared to take off one of the NSN members' masks. So on one of the Joel Blair and Tom shows, Tom said, "We know we've got this officers all of his social media, and we're looking a way to legally dox him." And so he's been arrested and charged for that. And then he was arrested again on Saturday for repeating that. And obviously, it's one thing to say on a live stream, "Cast Ross, I know where you live." It's a separate thing to say, "We've got these personal details about this police officer, and we're looking for a way to legally." That's quite different from obviously the anti-doxing laws. They haven't become law yet, but there's laws protecting police officers from that type of doxing threat. Now, obviously, this is before the courts. Thomas Sewell is quite confident he can fight all the charges. Now, their stunt outside the embassy, because in my opinion it was very similar in its inflammatory nature outside the Chinese consulate. The sign, "Yellow Grubs, hand over the baby mutilator," burning CCP flags, and a photo of Xi Jinping and Mao Zedong, and obviously the baby mutilator suspect. It reminded me a lot of when Blair Cottrell, Neil Erickson, and Chris Shortis in 2015 did the mock beheading outside the Bendigo council building, which they all got charged and were convicted, fined $2,000 for breaching the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act. William Turner says, "It exposes who controls the police. You'd think the Jews would tolerate the NSN, so it's not obvious how much reach they have in VicPol." Well, Victoria Police know that they can take constant police action against them because Nazis are some of the most reviled people to normies. I mean, obviously, if you watch the Joel Blair and Tom show, they are quite satisfied with all of the public disruption and media attention that they are getting, but they're still only getting 20 or 30 to their stunts in Melbourne, 70 nationwide. And they, even though they are picking causes that a lot of normies would agree with, it's the fact that they are called the National Socialist Network. It leaves little different. You understand what their philosophy is. There's little ambiguity there, is the word that I was looking for there. So obviously the United Patriots Front, it's obviously the Thomas Sewell, Blair Cottrell were a part of that as well, but it was a wider a nationalist patriot movement. Dawn Browning says, the KKK hooded chap spoke with a South American accent. I thought he was laughing as a horse thief who was about to get lynched, Your Honour. Yeah, I'm not sure that will work. The thing is, obviously, comedians have dressed up as members of the Ku Klux Klan. Most famous, Dave Chappelle, the black white supremacist Clayton Bigsby. But the difference is that Jacob Hershant is a open and unavowed neo-Nazi. So when he's in a Klansman outfit with a noose, joking about lynching a black man, then it's sort of it's because it's LARPing what he's doing. Like if that, like a lot of people would believe that if there was a Ku Klux Klan in Australia, Jacob would join it, and that he actually thinks that what the Ku Klux Klan did was quite honourable. So that's the difference between him and somebody like Dave Chappelle making a humorous sketch about a black white supremacist, because a lot of comedians, when they're doing these outrageous things, they don't mean it. They're just doing it for comedy. The most obvious other example I can think of is the Little Britain guys. Now, obviously, they had characters who were racist and anti-gay. Like, they weren't themselves, but that was the politically incorrect humor. Now, on the Friday, Jacob Hershant, after remember Judge Brett Sonnet, after he found Jacob Hershant guilty after a month of deciding, he needed another month to decide to send Jacob Hershant to prison for a month. Now, Jacob, he indicated that he would be appealing to the county court, so got appeal bail. He is wanting to appeal all the way to the High Court on freedom of political communication grounds. Speaking of that, Professor Anne Toomey, a constitutional law expert, has said that the misdisinformation law, if it were passed, could be found to be unconstitutional, violate the implied freedom to political communication. Certainly, there would be a lot more prominent legal minds who would challenge the misdisinformation laws, but Jacob has just got one lawyer, Blair Cottrell's appeal in the racial and religious tolerance only made it to the county court because that is all the resources that he could afford. But Jacob Hershant, previously said, he's been a National Socialist since he was a teenager. So, well, I think they know that they're not going to reform him, but they want to. They want to create a deterrent for any young LARPers who are attracted to National Socialism, that this is what will happen with you. So Jacob's lawyer is Timothy Smart. So I assume you'll be representing him at the county court. Now, so another person who, well, they might not be facing criminal penalties yet, but of course the Allen government, they released the draft expansion of the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act to all protected attributes, including incitement and threat, carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. I'm not sure if this person will be charged criminally, but the people outraged on social media have urged Human Rights Commission complaints, and this is Ralph Barbette, the senator for the. Make sure I've got to get the right graphic here. Yeah, so United Australia Party Senator Ralph Barbette, he was over in the United States to watch Trump's re-election victory, and he is a fan of the Tate brothers, and so he reshared their live broadcast, Andrew and Tristan Tate, and said, "My nigger nailed this one 100%," and he spelt that with a ER on the end, not A like he previously had. "In my house, we say faggot, retard, and nigger. We are sick of your woke ass clowns. Cry more, write an article, tweet about me. No one cares what you think." Now, obviously, Ralph Barbette thinks he has N-word pass because he's from Mauritius and is visibly brown. The Tates are half black. They're also half British, half American as well in terms of their nationality. So there's been this, the usual outrage and saying, "Oh, look what look at what Clive Palmer has left us with for his $100 million spend." William Turner says, "I personally find the Nazi stuff pretty silly, but I thought Vic Poll and Parliament would be more discreet on the issue." Again, it's much easier to take action against a group of neo-Nazis who all they do in public is hold banners and do chants, and actually is to arrest and prosecute a African youth gang criminal gangs that once again terrorizing Melbourne. But they've also got a Victoria Police. They've just opened up another Nazi salute investigation. So they've commenced an investigation to alleged Nazi salute at the Flemington Racecourse on 7th of November. Officers from the Melbourne Divisional Licence Unit were patrolling a general admission area of the racecourse where allegedly identified a male performing the Nazi salute. No patrons reacted to the salute nor approached police regarding the incident. So who complained then? Body-worn camera footage of the incident was reviewed before police approached and interviewed a 37-year-old Bellpost Hill man. He was subsequently ejected from the venue. He was expected to be charged on summons. At this stage, it is not believed he has any extremist associations. How do we know that he wasn't waving out to somebody? Again, this is the absurdity of this law, making a horizontal hand gesture, as we call in soccer terms, a arm in a natural position. You can go to jail for up to 12 months. So, as I mentioned, Nathan Bull has been charged with performing the Nazi salute at the Nova Theatre in Carlton. And there's also Jamoan Roberts, who is facing charges for the spray that he gave grandmothers for refugees after the stabbing a death of Vilene White, allegedly at the hands of a Sudanese teenager. So, given that Thomas Sewell has been arrested twice in 1 week, my free advice to him, not that he'd ever listen to me, is just lay low for a bit. You've got a family. Is that worth being? There's not much point. It's not good for your family being a martyr if you're rotting in a jail cell. And certainly, although you may disagree with the laws as they are, members of the National Socialist Network, it is and I'm saying, and this should be the advice to activists in general. You may disagree with laws, but try to stay within the law as it is. Lobby for change in the laws through the democratic processes that we have in place. Now, let's move on to the big, the main global, the best news of the year, definitely. Donald Trump's convincing victory in the United States presidential election, easily winning the electoral college, I should say, and also winning the popular vote. And now this is Decision Desk, how things stand. So all of the TV networks, they have projected all the states now. So Donald Trump has won 312 electoral votes out of 538, Kamala Harris 226. Now, he's winning the popular vote, 74 million, close to 75 million, to Kamala Harris's 71 million. Now, in 2020, Donald Trump got 74 million votes, but Joe Biden, the most in any presidential election, got 81 million. So where did those 10 million votes vanish? I know they're still counting in California. They've still got 25% of the vote counted. They still, even though they could count the votes in Florida in a couple of hours, they are still counting in Maricopa County, in Arizona, that's why it was called last, and in California. So each state runs its own election, but some states have got it better than others. Now, obviously, why most of us were quite on edge as the votes were coming in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, because, well, I was on air as part of the Unshackables in 2020 when it looked like Trump was going to win in 2020. Then the voting stopped. Then later that evening, Australian time, all the dumps came in from all the swing states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, and they all flipped to Biden. So where on earth did those 10 million votes go? Now, it's an admission that there were significant irregularities in 2020, because these mail-in drop boxes were completely new, that there has been a tightening this election. There was more stringent laws about when mail-in ballots needed to be sent in and how they needed to be postmarked. And also this time, the Trump campaign and Donald Trump himself said for his voters to vote early, because how the early votes, even though it's supposed to be one person, one vote, it can form the narrative of how the votes are counted. Thank you so much, Dawn Browning, for your praise of our stream. So with the changes in the law to strengthen the voter integrity, there is an admission that 2020 there are too many irregularities, but supposedly we were anticipating record turnout. Obviously, there was as William Turner said, even the Amish turned out to vote for Trump. And Kamala Harris was trying to get as many women out as possible to vote. We're all expecting record turnout to blast through 2020. But yes, there's 10 million less votes. So where on earth did they all go? And of course, nobody doubts that Donald Trump, if there was no COVID in 2020, Donald Trump easily would have won against Joe Biden. And I think Joe Biden probably wouldn't have been the Democrat nominee. It's just that he was ahead in the primaries when COVID started. And so all the other candidates dropped out and rallied around him. Now, Kamala Harris, like Hillary Clinton, couldn't concede on the night of the election, and so sent her supporters home through her campaign spokesman, probably because she didn't have a concession speech ready. She did turn up at the same venue the next day to give her concession speech, where she said, while I concede this election, I do not give up the fight. And obviously, there has been a new round of leftist tears and meltdowns in the aftermath of Donald Trump winning a second term, but most of them they seem more defeatist. The anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome types. Though there was, now this is absolutely tragic, this dad who was so Trump deranged, he gunned down his wife, ex-girlfriend, and his 2 kids in a murder-suicide. So this is a Minnesota dad, 46-year-old Anthony nephew, had a pattern of mental health issues and found 12 people dead inside 2 homes in the city. Now, of course, we laugh at the TikTok meltdowns. There wasn't TikTok in 2016. We do laugh at, and we do, the meme is that leftism is a mental disorder, but this is just absolutely heartbreaking. Like, your woman didn't make it to the White House. Life is going to go on. That it's Trump was president before, and life went on. In fact, life got better. He didn't make America great again. The economy was prosperous. Obviously, he was sabotaged by the deep state in his first term, but so far, the signs are good that that's not going to happen again. Dawn Browning says, "Be honest, the teleprompter broke." Now, because I saw all of these meltdowns in 2016, like with movies, sequels aren't as good as the original, but obviously there's these young they-thems who are probably too young to have Trump derangement syndrome. Obviously, their non-binary queerdom has developed over their teenage years, and that's why they are so crazy now. But for me, what I still couldn't believe and had to laugh at is the celebrities who had post-election meltdowns. The most pathetic was Jimmy Kimmel on his ABC late night talk show monologue, and especially since he is the most masculine sounding of these late night talk show hosts, so he looked truly pathetic.
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too.
Now, all of these celebrities in the final 2 weeks who decided to publicly advocate for Kamala Harris, whether on stage like J-Lo, Ricky Martin, Pink, Lady Gaga, or who appeared in campaign videos to support her, such as Harrison Ford and Will Ferrell. Boy, he's going to be mad at Gary for not voting. I don't think any of us are going to find Will Ferrell as funny as we used to. after his Kamala shilling. And then you had the truly Trump deranged celebrities stumping for Kamala in Robert De Niro. Now, when he was on Bill Maher's program earlier this year, he said that under Trump things will happen we didn't think will be possible. He'll come after me. You won't be able to do your show. And the Bill Maher audience laughed at him. And Bill Maher had the most sane take for a person who didn't vote for Trump. He has long railed against the crazies on the left side of politics. His monologue was losers look in the mirror. And that meant that his Trump jokes were still funny. He said that Trump grabbed 52% of white women, and he also grabbed their votes. Like, that's funny, even because Bill Maher, he makes jokes about both sides, and although he hates Trump, didn't vote for him, he still said to his audience, we're still going to laugh, the country's still going to go on, we're still going to have fun. Now, going over to the exit poll here. Now, I just realized, have I had the... I'm not very good with this software of switching it back to me and then switching it back to the screen share. It's not as automatic. So the exit poll. Now, exit polls are much more accurate than pre-election polling. The exit poll in the UK general election was scarily accurate by seat projection. Wasn't bang on, but was damn well pretty close. But the exit poll was breaking down by demographics. So, not surprisingly, the gender breakdown, 55% of men voted for Trump, 53% of women voted for Kamala. Now, breaking it down by race, 57% of whites voted for Trump. Only 13% of blacks voted for Trump. Maybe they got a few more, but still 85% voting for Kamala. The Latino Hispanic vote was much closer, although 52% broke for Harris. It was 46 who voted for Trump. And Asian American, I'm not sure that if they include Indian. When I say Indian American, I mean India, not Native Americans. 54% for Kamala, 39% for Trump. Other races, 54% for Trump, 42% for Harris. A lot of Native Americans voted for Trump. They'd be included in that. If you break it down by gender, by race, or by sex, I should say, Latino men broke 55% to 43% for Trump. So black men, 21% for Trump, 77% for Harris. Black women, 7% for Trump, 91% black women. Now, going down to the age group here. So men 18 to 29, 49% for Trump, 47% for Harris. And as it goes up, so men 30 to 44, so that is millennials, 53% for Trump, 43% for Kamala. For X's, 60% for Trump, 38% for Harris. For male boomers, though, there was it was 55% for Trump and 44% for Harris, so less. And of course, Well, the only women that Trump won were women Generation X's, 50% to 49. Yes, I agree with you. I'd like to see a further racial breakdown. Now, of course, one of the other demographics that Donald Trump made a pitch for was Jewish voters. They are 2% of the voting population, but Donald Trump said that if you vote for Kamala, Israel's not going to be around for much longer. You're a fool. Despite that, 80% of Jewish Americans voted for Kamala Harris, 20% voted for Trump. The prominent Jews who obviously voted for Kamala Harris, Barbara Streisand, Bette Midler, who deleted her ex account, Ben Stiller, just to name a few. And also, Trump, there was a lot of MAGA gays who are prominent on X, or maybe that was just my feed, though they broke 86% for Kamala Harris, 13% for Trump, though this NBC News exit poll includes, it says, are you gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender? I'm not sure how much of the TQ is as part of this. That would be I doubt that if that was removed, it was cut off the TQ, like many LGBs want to, it would still be a landslide for Kamala Harris. So JD Vance said on the Joe Rogan podcast, which going on these podcasts was Barron's idea, Barron Trump. JD Vance said, I think we'll get the normal gay vote. So there are only 8% of the voting population. So there's only 13% normal gays in the United States. 86% degenerate freaks. So, well, a lot of them would identify with Kamala Harris, who started got to start in politics by being through a degenerate acts on Willie Brown. A lot of gays can probably relate to having a sugar daddy like Kamala did with Willie Brown, albeit political sugar daddy. So this has the fact that despite this pitch to non-white voters, non-Christian voters, and to non-heterosexual voters, they all broke for Kamala Harris. So they actually didn't break down the Muslim vote, but something else. 52% voted for Kamala Harris, 43% for Donald Trump. Atheists, 71% for Harris, 27% for Trump. Now, one of the fiercest critics of Trump's broad coalition pitch, and his two key advisors, Susie Wiles and Chris Slavita, was America First Nick Fuentes, who, in the end, because he was sulky about Trump disavowing Project 2025. I have liked the memes about, no, Project 2025 was real all along. They are funny. But the fact that Fuentes bitched out and said that he was no longer voting for Donald Trump, There is this, I'm not sure if you've seen this meme going around before elections, live on Rumble, talking about the election and my final case for I'm not voting for Trump. And after the election, I can't believe we did it again. And then he, of course, had his LARP meme, your body, my choice, which has led to his home address being published. Someone has just turned up there and he's maced them out the front, which is his right. Although he's bitched out by not voting for Trump because he believed that there was too much Zionist neocon influence. You're not going to get everything that you want from Trump. I mean, I said on this stream, I don't support his tariff policies, but on most other issues, I support Trump. It's the fact that, and then you had Richard Spencer saying that he was going to vote for Kamala. In fact, Fuentes did a live stream with Richard Spencer afterwards. So, and this was Nick Fuentes very glum when Trump he tried to invite Susie Wiles up to say something. She the Ice Maiden, he calls her. She was not interested, but Chris Lasavita did.
But we have to let them come back in, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here. Come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden. Come here, Chris. Come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay in the background. She's not in the background. Come here, say something.
This wasn't expected, but I just want to thank, obviously, President Trump for this journey. It was a great one, and he's a hell of a candidate, and he's going to be a hell of a great 47th president. And this team that we had, the best team, and, of course, even my boss, Susie Wiles, the best. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Susie. Look at this. She's shot. I've never seen her be shot before.
Now, you can hate Chris Lasavita. It has been well documented that he was calling for the prosecution of the January 6 Capitol occupiers. Obviously, he has changed his mind since then, like J.D. Vance, the incoming vice president, who told a friend in 2016, I think Trump could be America's Hitler. So a lot of people have come to their senses and admitted that they were wrong about Donald Trump originally. So you may hate them, but they did help Trump win the election, and Trump was more disciplined during this presidential campaign. Sure, it obviously helped that he had been, well, it helped them that he had for a long time been banned from Twitter X. He's got it back now, but he mainly posts on Truth Social. He did have the occasional post lashing out at prominent people for endorsing Kamala. I hate Taylor Swift. I hate Bruce Springsteen. Well, Taylor Swift couldn't win up for Kamala. Maybe she and Beyonce should have done a concert for Kamala Harris. So I'm pretty much done with Nick Fuentes now. The fact that when it was so important, Trump had to win to ensure that the MAGA movement would be forever. The fact that he was advocating for just abandoning Trump at that crucial time think says more than about his ego. But he's continuing to try and claim, even though he's celebrating Trump's win, he's still trying to black pill. This was another one of his posts. Within 24 hours of Trump's victory, Trump met with male to female transsexual Caitlyn Jenner at Mar-a-Lago. Trump surrogate Rob Smith claims homophobia is dead and the GOP is home for normal gay people. So Caitlyn Jenner is actually next to Elon Musk and Donald Trump's granddaughter, Kai, who's 17 years old. That is Don Jr.'s daughter with his first wife, Vanessa. She's becoming a personality herself, Kai Trump. And now Scott, Presser, so he is a MAGA gay, but he did a huge ground game in Pennsylvania, getting out the MAGA vote. Certainly, I think every person, whether they approve of homosexuality or not, should be grateful to him for that. But Caitlyn Jenner has just handed back her Woman of the Year award, reflecting that it was wrong to accept it. And also, even though Nick Fuentes is blackpilling, I know that the groypers that still follow him are still claiming that he had influence in Donald Trump posting yesterday, "I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation. I very much enjoyed and appreciate working with them previously, and would like to thank them for their service to our country. Make America great again." Because Mike Pompeo was rumored to be in the running to be Defense Secretary, a former Secretary of State under Trump, massive neocon, China, Ukraine hawk. And the neocons in Australia, such as Sharri Markson and Greg Sheridan, they are very upset that Mike Pompeo is out. And it's now in the first Trump administration. It was the Trump child that was most influential was Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner. Now, Ivanka is a liberal. Obviously, Jared Kushner, being a Jew, was a pro-Israel, and he lobbied Trump to move the U.S. embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to East Jerusalem. Though in this second term, it appears to be Don Jr. Is the most influential sibling. He is engaged to Kimberly Guilfoyle, ex-Fox News presenter, and 20 years ago was actually married to Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. So she's changed a lot, and obviously her face has changed a lot as well. She's now a host on Rumble as well. This was now Dave Smith, who is a libertarian podcaster and who is Jewish himself, but is anti-war, anti-neocon, said the Stop Pompeo movement is great, but it is not enough. Right now, we need maximum pressure to keep all neocons and war hawks out of the Trump administration. They have had their time at the table and brought nothing but disaster to the world. And Donald Trump Jr. Reposted it on X and said, agreed, 100, I'm on it. And Don Jr., along with Tucker Carlson, lobbied Donald heavily to pick J.D. Vance as his running mate. And the fact that he chose a successor, we now have a MAGA successor. So that's another reason why MAGA is forever. And I think that if Trump, there hadn't been that assassination attempt at Butler, Pennsylvania, I don't think that he would have picked JD Vance, because that was before the convention, before he picked JD Vance. Then if Trump had been assassinated, that would have been MAGA over. So I'm very glad that Don Jr. is fully on the America First bandwagon, wants the neocons out, and already there is with Zelensky is, well, he's basically positioning himself to broker a peace with Putin. Trump said that he wants to end these wars to stop the dying. Hamas now they want a ceasefire. Qatar have kicked Hamas out. Iran, they want to have have a more conciliatory approach. Although there was that FBI release about the Iranians who were arrested attempting to assassinate Trump as well. So far the signs are good. Now, obviously, the big one could be Secretary of State. There is talk that Vivek Ramaswamy could be Secretary of State, though the front runner is a former acting Director of National Intelligence, Rick Grenell, and that would obviously give the MAGA gays a bone, given that he'd be the first openly gay Secretary of State. Obviously, Biden, he bragged that Pete Buttigieg was he had the first openly gay press cabinet secretary as well. Now, obviously, there was a lot of still straights who they claim to be straight, who voted for Kamala Harris, and yes. Harry Sisson and Chris Murray were joined by some other straight white dudes for Harris. And of course, well, the MAGA gays look way more masculine than these low-T soys. And one projection on election night, Harry Sisson's still a fag, because straight dudes can be faggots as well. And I think it was Alex Rojan who started the whole thing. In this household, we say gay and retarded. Now, the reason why the neocons in Australia are in mourning because of Mike Pompeo being excluded from the new Trump administration. So we know who definitely is not going to be in his administration is because Mike Pompeo was a supporter of the AUKUS submarine deal, which was, of course, brokered by Scott Morrison and now works for Mike Pompeo, lobbying in Washington, D.C., and is supported by the Albanese government because Trump is America first. The first subs that we're getting in 2034 are going to be manufactured in the United States. He might look at this and say, we're giving our subs to another country, we're building them here and then shipping them off. What a terrible deal. Which I wouldn't blame him in that regard. Also, Anthony Albanese, he is going to have to deal with Donald Trump for a few months as Prime Minister before the next election, which he's behind in the polls now. Could be a very short relationship. It came out before the election what Anthony Albanese had said about Donald Trump. Way back in 2017 at the Splendor in the Grass festival when he was Labor's transport and infrastructure spokesman. He said that he said that asked how he would deal with Trump. He said, with trepidation. Trump, scares the shit out of me. I think it's some concern the leader of the free world thinks that you can conduct politics through 140 characters on Twitter overnight. Asked what he would say to Mr. Trump's face, Mr. Albanese said it would probably be more polite than that. And the current US ambassador to the United States and former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd deleted his 2020 tweet about Kevin Rudd, the most destructive president in history. I should do the right voice. He drags Australia and democracy through the mud. He thrives on fomenting, not healing division. He abuses Christianity, church, and Bible to justify violence, all aided and abetted by Murdoch's Fox News network in America, which feeds this. So his office released a statement saying that in his previous role as head of an independent US-based think tank, Mr. Rudd was a regular commentator on American politics. He's also chair of Australians for Murdoch Media Royal Commission. Out of respect for the office of the President of the United States and following the election of President Trump, Ambassador Rudd has now removed these past commentaries from his personal website and social media channels. This has been done to eliminate the possibility that such comments being misconstrued as reflecting his position as ambassador and by extension the views of the Australian government. Ambassador Rudd looks forward to working with President Trump and his team to continue strengthening the US-Australia alliance. Again, as I say, that the fact that Trump is much more merciful and forgiving than the media claims he is. He was interviewed by Nigel Farage on GB News, who was at Mar-a-Lago on election night, along with Gina Reinhart and former Liberal Vice President Tina McQueen. Said to Donald Trump, this is what Kevin Rudd said about you in the past. And he said, well, I heard he was a little bit nasty in the past, but if he's at all hostile, he won't be there very long. So I think that it's going to be fine. And the last thing Anthony Albanese wants, and I think any Australian wants, is Kevin Rudd back in the country, popping up on the ABC 7:30 program with Sarah Ferguson, offering his pompous position. The fact that he is forced to be a diplomat, Kevin Rudd, over the other side of the world, we're much better off without him. Of course, I read out during the election results stream Adam Bant's post about Trump and say this is why we should cancel AUKUS. That's what David Shoebridge said as well. So it's obviously the Greens they are still radically anti-American and anti-Western, despite this, as I mentioned earlier, their sudden rediscovering of why certain civil liberties are needed. Now let's go around the world. I'll try to be as quick as I can. Now I covered most of the British news last night with Danny Russo. So they had Remembrance Sunday, where the politicians they wear their poppies all week, and obviously through the fact that they are through the open borders policy are seeing Britain as it was back then be invaded and replaced. The nerve of them to say that they honor the sacrifice. I mean, please. And the fact that, well, last year, patriots were confronted by aggressive police at the cenotaph, who wanted to protect it from the pro-Palestine protesters, was a disgrace. So you can watch that on replay on the Wilms Front channels. My interview with Danny Russo. It was a very good discussion. Now I will turn to the Netherlands, which there was some ugly football hooliganism at the recent Europa League match in Amsterdam. So Maccabi Tel Aviv fans travelled to the Dutch capital for their club's UEFA Europa League match with Ajax Amsterdam. Now, Israel is in, even though it's in the Middle East, is in the Union of European Football Associations, UEFA, because all of the Middle Eastern nations who are in the Asian Football Confederation, most of them in the past have not recognized Israel. A few more of them do now, like the UAE with the Abraham Accords. So, and football hooliganism, it is a ugly stain on football, and over through its ugly history, it has on occasions led to sectarian violence, which is never acceptable. But the fact that because these Tel Aviv fans, they attacked a cab driver, allegedly were filmed tearing down a Palestinian flag and chanting anti-Arab slogans. Obviously, the Muslims, they get worked up easily, so it wasn't just football fans, but a lot of the Moroccan Muslims who are living in the Netherlands, who shouldn't be there, decided to have reprisal attacks. And it should be condemned, the violence, the football hooliganism on many sides, as Donald, if I channel my inner Donald Trump. But it is now being called an anti-Semitic pogrom, and this occurred on the 86th anniversary of Kristallnacht, Night of the Broken Glass, when synagogues were attacked. This brings back memories of World War II. Now, it should be put in context that, well, again, it's ugly, all football hooliganism, and football hooliganism has killed people. But if we look at, there were 5 who were hospitalized, that is very bad, and 20 or 30 injured. But in the past, football hooliganism, which has given way to sectarianism, it's all ugly, has actually led to the deaths of people. There is no way that people should be going to a football match and then not coming home. And you've had the new Dutch government, which is backed by Geert Wilders' Party for Freedom. He is, of course, anti-Islam politician, massively pro-Zionist, despite his party being called Party for Freedom. Protests were banned in the Netherlands on the weekend. That doesn't sound very freedom or an appropriate response. But it has also led to the King of the Netherlands say, we failed the Jews in World War II. Last night, we failed again. There were thousands of Dutch Jews who were murdered by the Nazi regime. Again, the violence is bad on both sides here. It's ugly that it happened, but nobody has died. That's the reality. 5 in hospital. Now, Sky News UK, they did put through an accurate report about what happened, but they deleted it, probably due to backlash from Zionist, pro-Israel groups, and they said it failed to live up to our high editorial standards. So this was their initial accurate report on the football hooliganism in Amsterdam, which led to this sectarian violence.
Violence in Amsterdam left at least 5 people injured and dozens have been arrested. But what happened? Supporters of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv arrived in Amsterdam ahead of their UEFA Europa League match against Amsterdam club Ajax. On Wednesday, social media videos verified by Sky News show Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tearing down Palestinian flags from outside of homes. Other social media videos appeared to show residents chasing Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. On Thursday, just before the game, crowds of Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs. while a pro-Palestinian demonstration had been banned by the mayor over fears there would be clashes. Later that evening during the match, Israeli supporters appeared to disrupt the minute silence for Valencia flood victims with chants, whistles and fireworks. Maccabi fans were seen attacking locals as a police car can be seen driving by. People with Palestinian flags were seen marching on the streets. Maccabi supporters say they were beaten and attacked on the streets of the Dutch capital, with videos showing some of the violence.
Say free Palestine and we go. Good.
Sky News could not independently verify all of the footage shown. Police arrested 62 people. 5 were taken to hospital, but have since been discharged. Israeli far-right ultras are notorious for their racism and physical violence. Dutch, Israeli and British leaders denounced the attacks as anti-Semitic and even referred to it as a pogrom. But their statements failed to mention the assaults by the Israeli hooligans.
Yeah, so Sky News UK, which is owned by NBC Universal Comcast, deleted that very balanced report. And yeah, we have the Israeli government basically having rescue flights from Amsterdam. If there was no, again, all this football hooliganism violence is bad. Those Moroccan Muslims shouldn't even be in the Netherlands. But the Israeli government was basically treating this as like another Munich massacre, of course, at the 1972 Summer Olympics in Munich, where there were Jewish athletes murdered. And I see a lot of the pro-Israel, pro-Zionist media say, oh, it was bad about what those Tel Aviv football hooligans did. However, let's focus on what the Moroccan Muslims did, because it's primarily Moroccans who are the Arab Muslims who are in the Netherlands. Now, there wasn't just unrest in Amsterdam this past week, also in Toronto, where this is probably if there's any Canadians who are watching, they'd be able to give a better indication than me. Unprecedented, the worst Indian sectarian riots in Canada, Hindu versus Sikh, in Brampton in Ontario. This happened when Sikh Khalistan separatists, they went to the front of a Hindu temple during worship and disrupted it, and that led to these angry Hindu Indian nationalists coming to the streets demanding the police arrest them. So because Sikhs have infiltrated all of the major parties in Canada, the Conservatives, one of their co-deputy leaders is a Sikh, the leader of the left-wing New Democratic Party, which is in Justin Trudeau's coalition, Jagmeet Singh, is a Sikh. There's a lot of, they have a problem in India of these Indian migrants when their visas come to an end, basically squatting in the country, refusing to leave, demanding permanent residency. We had obviously we got a taste of what Canada has been subjected to with at the beginning of 2023, the mini riot in the Melbourne CBD between Sikhs and Hindus when the Sikhs were voting in their fake Khalistani referendum. Now, relations between Canada and the Modi Indian government are at a new low after the Canadian government accused the Indian government of being behind the assassination of a radical Sikh separatist leader. Now, one of Canada's independent journalist Harrison Faulkner from True North was on the street, and just see how fanatical and crazy these Hindu nationalists are. I mean, they're seeing them; they're indistinguishable from the angry Muslims you see on the street who are upset over a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad.
Yesterday, Khalistani people, they attack on our temple. We want arrest for those people, idiot people who entered our temple.
Talk to him. He's gonna print it otherwise. Anyway.
No problem.
Why the reason to block the road?
Block the road to awake the government, awake the public. Right? We Hindu all together.
What do you make of the Trudeau government's response?
Yeah, we want they should be charged. That's why we block. Police should be charged them.
We are protesting against the Peel police, the way how they behaved with us. They entered the temple premises and they
are partial.
Yeah, they are impartial. The police is impartial. So we are showing our anger towards the police, how they behaved yesterday.
I have a picture of the police officer.
Okay. So doesn't the free speech count for us? Doesn't the free speech work for us?
No, I think it does.
Where are the culprits from Peel police? Yeah. 3 police officers were involved, only one who was protected.
Why did they hit us inside?
Who gave them right to hit any individual? Who gave them right?
Police officer. This is the police officer. This is the guy who killed our Indian Hindu people.
Hindus are the most peace-loving community in Canada. They never are part of any violence. They never demand anything. But I know. But the right message needs to go through. I know what his audience watches. I know. But he has to show what I am talking about.
Yes, he's the
right to enter a holy place. We worship here. Like when they're gonna enter in a church, how are you gonna react?
Well, I think it's wrong.
It's wrong.
I think it's wrong.
That's why we are here. They enter inside the temple to attack us.
From Canada. He wants Hindu to be out from Canada, you know. He's the guy.
Have you ever seen any Hindus protesting outside,
he
out of there, without any reason? We were attacked yesterday. Our temple was attacked.
Attacking a holy...
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, don't...
So those Hindu nationalists, they were blocking the road, kicking cars. They were angry at the local Peel police from stopping them from storming the Sikh Gurudwara, which is the Sikh house of worship. Which of course that would have just escalated the violence further. Now, remember when I saw the very biased ABC piece against the Four Corners episode about against the Modi government? They interviewed some of these Sikh separatist leaders in Australia, the US, and Canada, and obviously very friendly to the ABC presenters. But in the videos that they record and upload online, they sound as angry and as threatening and as menacing as radical Islamists. They're shouting, pointing their finger. Very different from, obviously, we have the Sikh volunteers here in Melbourne. That's a form of diplomacy. Look, we're taking care of Australians in times of disaster. But we saw a mini riot between the Sikhs and Hindus, and Canada, what's happening in Canada, we could see a lot more similar here. Don Browning says this wouldn't be happening if it were not for immigration meddlers in the 60s. Well, both Albanese and Dutton are on a unity ticket of mass migration from India. They both celebrated the Hindu Dawiya festival, and in fact there's some Hindus that want it to be a public holiday in Australia. Now the final bit of news comes from Germany, where the Chancellor Olaf Scholz of the Social Democratic Party has kicked out the Liberal Free Democratic Party from his coalition. So he's in coalition with them and the Green Party. So that means that there's going to be an early German federal election. He wants to hold on until early next year. The Christian Democrat, the centre-right party are ahead in the polls, but obviously Alternative for Deutschland have surged in the East German state elections, the Landtags, and so it'll be the first post-war German government to only last one term. This is how volatile things are in Germany at the moment. So bring it on, and Auslander Ross. I won't do an election night stream for the German federal election, but I'll certainly be watching it closely. Obviously, someone who has German heritage, I certainly want Germany to be great again. That brings us to the end of Tim's News Explosion for this week. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, not just tonight, but also last night, Wilms Front with Danny Rusco, and our US presidential election results live stream. Richard Wollstonecroft published a celebratory report for Trump's victory. His official posters out for the Melbourne Underground Film Festival, a MUF 2024, which is happening from December 8 to the 14th. So he released the posters last week. He's been able to get a venue thanks to a fan of his appearances on Sam Newman's You Cannot Be Serious. So it is at the Black Sheep in Hawthorne, 546 Burwood Road, Hawthorne. So go to the Melbourne Underground Film Festival Facebook page to get tickets. The theme is frankly dedicated to the patron of Muff, Frank Hausen, who sadly passed away earlier this year. So I'll of course give you updates on Muff. The Unshackled is an official sponsor this year, which we're very proud to be a part of. Now, if you want us to continue with our Unshackled productions so that we can bring you more, bigger and better, go to events, and also start publishing news articles again, please support our work. You can either do so on Substack through the unshackled.substack.com/subscribe. So that's where we post all our Unshackled productions, our archive and email alerts for upcoming Unshackled productions until tonight. You've probably noticed tonight my earphones are constantly falling out here. I need to probably should go back eventually to the headphones here. So you can take out a Substack subscription, monthly $5 per month, annual $50 per year. I'll put the link into the live chat. And also you can still sign up on the unshackled.net, where we still post our articles, and also we'll be posting our when it comes up the 2024 Unshackler Award. So bronze $5 per month, silver $10 per month, gold $25 per month, platinum $50 per month, or you can have yearly bronze for $50 per month, silver $100 per year, gold $250 per year, or platinum $500 per year. My weekly segments, Wilms Reports on Reality Check Radio's breakfast program with Paul Brennan continue every Tuesday morning. And Dewey DeBoer is back with the dialogue. He's back from Japan and into the great MAGA world order, the good world order. So I'll put the link to RCR here. Remember, with all our Unshackled productions, if you can't support us, still give us a like and a comment, thumbs up down below. Share, get the word out, because it all helps with the algorithms. Thank you so much for watching tonight on what has been a glorious week. It's given us all hope around the world. The return of Donald Trump to the presidency. So everyone, please stay safe, stay optimistic. And I thought to play us out tonight, I would play Lee Greenwood, his rock version of his song God Bless the USA, which has been played at Trump rallies since the beginning. Lee Greenwood, a country music star, is a supporter of Donald Trump. He wrote it in 1984 and was used in Ronald Reagan's 1984 re-election campaign. So after Trump won, he released a rock version with a montage of Donald Trump all throughout the years. So to play us out, take it away, Lee.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Yeah, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.